Next speaker, Richard Advoian. He is backed by popular demand when we met in January with the President's meeting to plan this session. Everybody there, when Richard's name came up, oh yeah, let's do that. I try to alternate our favorite speakers every other year so that we don't burn out on them, but Richard's got some really good things. I've kept him apprised of what's going on with the Postal Service, and he now knows what we're looking at, what the perspectives are. We went out to dinner with a couple of our members last night, more opinions. So his purpose here is to kind of give us some guidance how we can deal with our individual lives and also how we can deal with our working lives. Richard he's worked with clients in over 40 industries, providing programs and services in the area of team leadership, employee development. He has his own private business as a psychiatrist, psychologist, one of those two. But he's very experienced. You guys all know. So please welcome Richard Advoian.
I want to begin by sharing a personal story with you. A lot of you may or may not know, my father was a postman and my uncle was a clerk from Buffalo, Niagara Falls, New York. And my father, when I first was hired to come speak to you, I took the gig primarily because it was, to be very blunt, lower than my normal fee, because I knew my father would love going into the postmaster when I got the gig and said, guess where my son is speaking. So I want to thank you for that, but the story is, it's been 3 times now that I've been here. My dad passed away in January, and 40 postmen, retired men, showed up at his funeral. And what they did was something that had my family crying. 10 of them worked with him, were posted at the same time, and each came with a postcard that they wrote a note, stamped, that they put in my dad's coffin. I thought, farewell to him, I thought that was incredible. And I tell you that because I want to talk about what all this is doing to all of you psychologically. And we heard about the company. You mentioned the company. And things are changing. And unfortunately, in our society, things are rapidly changing. And we don't all have control over what's being dealt to us. Just like those of you who frequent casinos. You don't know if the guy was dealing with a gal, they're not going to give you the cards you want. It's by chance. You have to deal with the cards that you're given. So I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in America, in the corporate world, as far as employees and how people are coping with it. I hear a lot about Generation X and Y, and a lot of you are from the generations that worked for the company because you believed in the company, you were committed to the company, and you worked hard for the company. Well, everybody's trashing all these young people saying they're not as dedicated as we are. They're dedicated, but for different reasons. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. In every generation, there are high achievers. There are those employees that are committed to their job and really are committed wholeheartedly. They actually give more than they're paid to do, and they're committed. Then there is the foundation employees, those employees that are there that really keep the doors open. The reliable ones that are there, they do their job, and let's admit there's a group called the slackers. Those people who just coast through the job, really doing it marginally, but in today's world we can fire people very easily for not doing well. If they're unionized, it's even harder. And even the people that are in unions that are committed get frustrated by the slackers. And we say that there's a lot of young people today have a different attitude. I'm here to tell you, I don't believe that. I think the difference is they see work as a resource for their choice of healthy living. They don't look at jobs as a devotion. They see it as what I need to do to pay what I want to do when I'm out of here. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a whole different mindset. However, in that group, there are still high achievers. There are still the middle row people, and there's still slackers. Overall, though, what they have been faced with, young people and middle class people and middle-aged people, all have seen what has happened to longevity and commitment to companies because they're getting burned. So a lot of these young people say, why should I stay long-term anywhere? Because I've seen what they did to my grandpa, grandma, uncle, aunt, father, mother, sister, whatever. They got burned, so why should I be committed to any company long-term? I was telling Larry last night, I just read a study. People under 40 will probably have between 15 and 20 jobs before they retire. My son is 30. Graduated from DePaul University in 2004. So that's what, 7 years ago? He's on his 4th job. Always better, more money, and moving along. Now, I'm not saying that because he's my son. I'm saying that that's not uncommon. How many of you remember when you were applying for jobs? A lot of you have been with this company for a long time, but what was the amount of time that you should not have less than between jobs? Anybody know? 2 to 3 years. You say it used to be 2. You know what it is now? 6 months. They'll accept people under 6 months for jobs if you have a skill that they want and you know what you're talking about and you know what you know and you can sell it. A company say, I would rather have you for 6 months and have you an exceptional employee than have a slacker for 5 years. So young people today are saying, I'm going where I can do the job I want to do with the less headaches. If you're good, they're going to want me because I'm only working for what I want to do when I get out of work. Does that make sense? Now, it doesn't mean that they're not good employees. Now, some of us that say, company, 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 these young people say, you can have the company, 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 company. I'm doing my job because I want to partay or do extreme sports or running or whatever these young people are doing outside of work. And I'm not saying destructive stuff. They're doing healthy stuff. But it's a whole different world. All these changes are coming down. I'm going to tell you some things I've been doing for the last 3 months before I came here today. I do a lot of work with corporations and businesses. But now since my colleagues and close by people from St. Louis are here, I don't want to say where I live because I'm going to talk about my post office. My post office I go to, there's a person who is like the senior of the clerks. She has no personality. It's absolutely flat. And then we got these 2 ladies that are really bubbly, inviting. And then I get my UPS guy, because my wife is a QVC addict. And they come from UPS. That guy gets off that truck and he's like, good morning, how are you? He says to me just recently, listen, if you're not home when I'm in, is there a certain place you want me to leave the package so you know where it is behind one of your shrubs, so I want to make sure it's safe for you? Now my mailman goes by in the truck and I say good morning and he doesn't even look at me. Now I'm saying that for a reason. Because I'm here to tell you that angers me as a child of a postal man. It bothers me that that's happened. But why has that happened? I believe it started at the top. And some of you, because you're so uncertain, it has kicked the wind away from your sails. So many of you are doom and gloomers, and that affect of doom and gloom goes down the ladder. Because I'm here to tell you, postmasters, the average person doesn't know who you are. Quite frankly, they don't care who you are. They want to know about the person. When I go say, can I have some stamps? You're saying, good morning, how are you? Have a great day. It's a blessing that you're here. Now it's, what's that thing? Parashalom, and I say, stop, I heard it. No, she goes, I have to say that. So say, but it's not like good morning, and it's like a robot. No. To be very blunt, let's put machines in to talk to you. I don't need the clerk. Not only being blunt, and I hope you don't mind, but the attitude is not that people don't care. I don't buy that you don't care. I buy the fact that you all lost your enthusiasm because you're fear of the unknown. But I'm here to tell you, every day you wake up, it's an unknown. You could die. So why deal with the unknown? Deal with the joy of living. It boggles my mind. And going back to this, good morning. I grew up in Niagara Falls, New York. And when I grew up, I'm Armenian. And in my neighborhood, and please bear with me, you were either black, those are not African, you were black, Armenian, Italian, or Polish. And everybody's mama was your mama. So if you did something wrong in the corner, by the time you got home, you were going to get 5 women beat you before you got down the street. I remember I was like in 7th grade, and I was walking down the street, and I walked by this woman, and all of a sudden I heard what I hate hearing, Ricky, which I was Ricky in those days. I look up, and there's Miss Ellis. Miss Ellis was this hefty black woman that was joyful, and she was like the premier mama of the neighborhood. She said, boy, you better get up here. Jeez, I don't want to go up there. I walked up there, I got into right up close, and she grabbed my ear like she was. She twisted my ear, and she had her finger on my face, and she said, now you listen here, boy. If I ever see you walk by another human being without a good morning, good day, or good afternoon, I'm going to slap you silly. But what she meant by that is she said, because by you not acknowledging another human being as though they don't exist, and they have a right to be acknowledged. So when you go into these post offices, how difficult is it? You chose that job, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm here to tell you, you want to walk out the door, there's somebody going to fill that spot. So, if you don't have a joy thing, and I'll tell you what was really strange about my post office, I told them, all of them, I'm going to go speak to the supervisor. You would think they would jump up and say, oh, hi, Rich. It didn't change them. Now, how do they know that their boss wasn't going to be there? I didn't tell them what state I was going to. It just shows me that they don't care. We got to put the caring back in there. We got to put the caring. Post offices were the place where most people, where they were lonely, would go and just buy a stamp just to go and talk to somebody. Now, I don't mean you, and I'm going to tell you, as a New Yorker, I don't want you chit-chatting for an hour either. Because I'm in mine, and I have to pick a number, and I'm waiting for 20 people, but I don't need you to be chit-chatting and talking about him as mama and sister and cousin and other person. Just do business with good morning, good afternoon, good day. It's a pleasure. I love this word. It's been an honor serving you today. You have a blessed day. How hard is that? Yeah, you got to say that little script. I understand that. But here, people, you can't yell at the people at your counters if you aren't joyful in the day. Because you crack a whip on a dog and then say, be a nice dog, they're not going to be a nice dog. They're going to chew somebody. So, it's all about blessing everybody. You all set the tone by the way you approach your life. Being a good leader is something we all have to think about. Now, again, this is not all going to apply to you, but hopefully you'll get some pros out of some of this. We look at America's schools today, and we take this gentleman right here. And let's say you're an exceptional math teacher. Every kid in the school wants to take your class. But you, sir, are his principal. So you say, he's an exceptional math teacher, I'm going to make him a counselor, which is more money, and you got your master's degree, and I make you a counselor. And what happens is, he becomes a marginal counselor. We thought we were rewarding this man, so we take his brilliant gift as a teacher away from the next generation to make him a marginal manager. Now I'm going to teach you, so hang in there, okay? I'm not making this real. You are a marginal English teacher. But in the faculty lounge, you are very supportive. Staff talk to you, all your colleagues believe in you, and you can get people to rally and do stuff, and you just have a charitable heart. But you're a marginal teacher. Now, if we promote you, because counselors have to have empathy and they talk to students and help them through hard times, you would be an exceptional counselor. But I have to give you some money to keep you there, because if you want to go get your master's degree and you want to make more money in life, you can't stay there because you can only get so much money. I have to go there. So you get enticed to go there, and then you go to work, and eventually, what happens? You come as joyful to work a year later if you get up to a job that you're not really into? No. So we have it all wrong. We really pick the wrong people to do the wrong jobs. It's like, you can be in the same bus, you've heard this, but is everybody in the right seat? No, that's true. And it's really, I don't know how to resolve this. Some companies are looking at that and saying, okay, no disrespect to all of you, because some of this is going to make you crawl a little bit. Unions prevent that in some ways, because if someone has the same job, they all got to get paid the same for the long time, same time period. So, quite frankly, Paula, if Beverly is one of those slackers, if she's been there for 10 years, Pamela. What did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. Pamela, if you're exceptional and she is marginal and you both been there 10 years and she can get away with just slacking and you busted your rear end, how long are you going to start saying, shh, I'm just chilling down? So now I got two marginals. I mean, I don't mean to make that negative, but in reality, that's true. Now, the only thing I could make a difference is letting her know as her boss, because I can't change it. Now, what I could do is, when I do her evaluation, say to her, if things were different, I want you to understand, I really appreciate that you are one of my aces. It doesn't always have to be money, but at least acknowledge that. You know, I mean, it's really all about just saying, you know what, and it's not about you going and saying, Richard told me I'm the best, you know, but it should be okay for you to be saying to yourself, you know, I'm acknowledged, because there's also benefit for you being the union, all right? So there's benefits to all of them, but really looking at how do I work this with my people? What do you think the number one reason people leave companies? How many think it's money? Raise your hand. Anybody have an idea what you think it might be?
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement's up there, but it's not the primary. It's one of the top 5. Boss. They leave ineffective bosses. And what do they mean by ineffective? Does anybody have an idea? The primary ineffective thing is when you don't implement policies the same way to everybody. So I don't care if it's your mama, your sister, your best friend, your neighbor, your godmother, who it is, they get the same treatment as everybody. That's the number one reason of ineffective bosses, or bosses who don't admit what they don't know. Now, I'm here to tell you, there is no shame in saying, I don't know. What's even worse is knowing what you don't know, but not asking for what you need. Because many of you got promoted, and one thing about the post is they don't teach you how to be managers. You know, it's like, okay, you got this job, it's baptism by fire. Well, how can I do something I don't know how to do well, and then be judged on that? All right, they're not going to train you. Whose responsibility is it to do well? I'm a firm believer that even though you're in management, you should be reading some books. And I hate to tell you, there's some really inexpensive 5-minute manager, how to deal with difficult employees. Now, a little secret, books are expensive. You buy these Kindles and these other things, books are less expensive. But you know what you could do is call a colleague, you two gentlemen, and say, you know what? Let's meet up at Barnes & Noble, have some coffee. We'll both get 2 business books. We'll sit there 1 hour a week, and we'll each read a different book while we're sitting having some coffee, and don't buy the book. Use the place. A lot of people do that. I'm here to tell you, a lot of people go to Barnes & Noble, read their books, and don't pay for them, and buy some coffee. I do it.
They still exist.
But, and then what happens? You share with each other what you learn in those books. The other one is agree to buy a book, so buy a colleague and say, you know, you buy this book, I'll buy that book, and we'll just trade books. Or some of you, the St. Louis people, I don't know the rest, I all know you, but St. Louis, you're all pretty close. See if you could all chip in once a month, $5, and you develop a library of books for yourselves that you could just take out and read to, and borrow. I mean, there are creative things you can do if you want to excel in your job. Or you can sit around and pout and say, I don't know how to do this. Now, do I think they should be paying for you to go to some training? Absolutely. I do believe that. The biggest mistake companies are making today is they don't want to invest in training. Do you know what the second reason young people are looking for jobs? They're looking for jobs that will train them for the next job they're going to. Now here, let me tell you about this. Let's use you. You come to me, I hire you because you're an ace at your last job. I take you under my wing and I think you have incredible web skills, social media. And I hire you for 6 months, but I take you to training for this advanced program that I'm investing in you going to. All right? But before you do it, you're going to train the rest of the team. Follow me? So you got another skill that I paid for. You get an offer to go to another company. When you go to that other company, what are you going to say about my company? You're going to be an incredible, hopefully, ambassador for me, that some people below you with skills saying, you want to go to a place to work? This place is not only exceptional, they're state-of-the-art, they invest in you. I would tell you to go apply there and use my name, because if I saw your name came across as a reference for somebody and you were my ace, I'm going to hire that person. I can't pay for that advertising. You became an incredible ambassador for me, and I got quality for 6 months. Plus, I may get some other people coming on board that I don't even have to look for because you're going to be an ambassador for me. You follow me? So all these things are important. Right now, why would anybody in their right mind want to apply to work at the post office? Now, I know I'm saying this hard thing, I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I don't know why I would want to come here. UPS, they got nice little shorts, they're in these brown trucks, they get to say hi to people, and they get to walk around, and they get personalized, they get to know people by name because they're delivering to my house, and he knows our name. He knows our name. That's a whole other issue. Addictive shopping, but that's why she doesn't mind me traveling. Travel, make money, and I just shop, But I think we're going to look at making this again a place that people want to come to. This is really historical. The gentleman saying, when did the post office start? I mean, this has been around for years. The whole idea of the post office going under saddens me. I just can't imagine not having postal services and not have that in our world. So as supervisors, you need to make some decisions. Larry, do you mind if I share that little story I told you about that recommendation?
No. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things I told Larry last night, I worked with a city that had all these aldermen. And these aldermen are like senior citizens of the community. And they're very committed to, they run for office year after year after year. And they're become like fixtures. Well, they don't want to retire because they don't think they know it all. They just don't know what to do with their lives. They've been very involved, they're very knowledgeable, they're very committed. So I said to the city manager, I said, why don't you create a wisdom council? And he said, what do you mean a wisdom council? I said, why don't you take historical old aldermen, men and women, and say, you know what, I would like to create this wisdom council. We'll meet 4 times a year. We'll have a full day, relaxation, we'll eat, we'll talk. And I want to just pick your brains and throw up to you ideas and have you dissect it based on your wisdom and your experience to give me some feedback so I can process that when I want to implement something. Well, I said, why can't you all do that? Some of you people are probably hanging around, again, I respect this, some of you are way beyond retirement age, but aren't retiring. And I wonder if it's because you don't know what to do with yourselves after you retire. And I'm wondering I said, Larry, why don't you create like a wisdom council of some of you people that have been strong advocates for each other, who are really astute, been reading the policies and the policies changes and what have you, and create this wisdom council to keep people feeling that they're still needed. I wonder if that would make a difference, because I know a lot of people don't want to retire because they don't frankly know what to do. And that's kind of a sad thing, which means to me that all of you that are closer to my age or a little younger, you need to start looking at what am I going to do if change comes to my front door and I don't have a plan on how to cope with the change. I'm old in my industry. That's why some of you, I don't know how long ago I've been here, but I shaved my mustache off after 35 years because I had to start looking a little younger. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm still that chub, that little guy. I haven't lost any weight. But the reality, I have to have an exit plan. Because I could be called out of business overnight. I mean, I could just be, all these young people coming up, they're just wiping us older guys out of it. Because they're all talking about this new stuff. Social media, all that computer stuff that I don't want to learn. But what I can share is I can talk about the psychology because of my background. So each of you have to start looking at, as managers, how can I instill in my people a strong, positive attitude? I'm going to tell you one trap a lot of managers fall into that you need to avoid, and that's it. I don't believe in this crap either, but we got to do it. When you read something and you don't like it, you need to swallow it or spit it out or wring it out, whichever way you want to look at it, out of yourself, and when you present it, you are the management. Now, I don't have a problem with you saying, Carol, I don't have a problem with you saying, when you talk to all of us, listen, team, I shared my opinion, I was heard. However, the outcome of the entire feedback was this is the decision, and we have to implement that. You see, that's positive. Now we, as her team, know she spoke up. Versus you saying, you know what, I really don't like this, but we got to do it because you want to be loved. All right, that doesn't cut it because if I'm your boss, I'm going to be on your case. Because it's a week. Because I may not like it. But I had to do it. You know, so we have to be uplifting about it, because if you want them to be motivated and work hard for you, they got to know that you're invested in it also. Change is tough. It happens to all of us. But integrity is a big piece of leadership too, and that's speaking your truth and being honest about yourselves. A lot of you chose promotions because you needed an ego. And a lot of people, unfortunately, see promotions as, and again, I'm being very blunt, as degrees that they never got in college. They didn't go to college, so they see promotions as their college degrees. And many people pursue those higher positions, but they're not really well equipped to do the job, but don't have the guts to admit I made a mistake, or I need some help in learning this. But then if we, as Christian type of people, we should not be gloating over someone else's struggle, because some of us have talents and others have liabilities, but we need to be tolerant of each other's liabilities and applaud the gifts that each of us have. I do a lot of corporate training with teams that don't work well together. And one of the things that I've noticed is that people who trash other people trash them for two reasons. One is they have a talent or a skill or a characteristic or a facial or a body that you desire that you'll never have. Or they have a talent that you yourself have, but they've done something with it and you have not. So we trash those people. Those people are viruses and they're in every industry. And if you let that person have the main stage, that virus will go through your whole system so bad that you're going to have to cleanse everybody. Everybody's going to go in quarantine, and you're never going to be able to do that. Particularly in your situation, it's hard to get rid of that person. So what you need to do is you need to find where that virus is, and then not chastise them, but help them to find, and you to help find out in that employee what their real talent is, and start fertilizing that so that you can turn that virus to not being there and being something that flourishes positively. Our tendency is to do what with those people? Avoid them or chastise them, which does what to a virus? It makes it stronger. Because then when that person leaves your office, they go to someone that's a weak-minded person and say, Carol, do you believe what she said to me? Da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden I go to lunch. Do you know what she said to me? Da, 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 da. Now the whole day is me sharing all this virus to everybody else. Because then what happens is I may hit you in a day where the boss may say something to you that was off color, or negative, whatever. So now, you won't believe what it said to me. So now it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So we need to look at it. When you're managing people, integrity is for you to know why you're really going after that person and how are you approaching it. Starting it out clean and keeping it solid to what the issue is. If you are a token person, a token warrior, that's destructive. Let me tell you what I mean by token warrior. A token warrior is someone, and this is in your personal lives and in business, who never get rid of issues. Picture your grandma's little change purse, you know, those that snap, and they're netted at the bottom, and let's say, is it Edward or Edmund? Edmund. Edmund did something to me 6 months ago, and I put that token in here. But he did a thing a month ago, I keep it here. So then he does something today, and I bring it up, and then I open my book, my little purse up, and say, yeah, 6 months ago you did that, and 1 month ago you did that. And then after those all thrown out at each other, we get on our hands and knees and collect them all and put them back in the pouch for the next argument. There's no cleansing. You got to cleanse people. You can't persecute your employees for things they did 6 months ago if you've already resolved it. If it's resolved, you got to let it go. And then deal with what's going on now. However, you need to keep on track. If you're evaluating them, you could say, well, over a 6 month period, we've had, although you've made some strides here, it still continues to be an issue. That's legitimate as a supervisor to say there's a pattern here. But you don't bring up every time they do something, argue all the issues before that. You talk about the issue at hand if you want to be effective. Now, you know what type of employers do the negative one are ones who are ill-equipped to be managers because they use fear and clout to keep secure. They're not effective managers. An effective manager listens, processes, and then sets a standard for what needs to be shifted and an appropriate time pattern and helps the person understand what they have to do. You can't tell somebody how to fix something if you don't tell them how to fix it. Now, the truth of the matter is, you may not know how to fix it. So you need to be talking to your boss to teach you how to fix what you're teaching them how to fix. Which goes back to the ladder of do supervisors help each other going down the route? Do you really learn from each other? The general was talking about consumers and that they did some focus groups on consumers. And I think some of you need to look at, you don't really need to look at consumers or get them together to do it. How many of you are postmasters? Raise your hand. Right. All of you, how many of you have exposure? I don't know what you all do. How many of you actually are in a location where you actually can see consumers coming in to get services? Raise your hand. Also, where do the rest of you work? Where do you work? Where? Okay. Here's what I think we need to be looking at from consumers. Those of you that are in this business that have exposure to the front line, where you see the consumer walk in the door, you don't have to ask them. Just watch their faces. I don't even want you looking at your staff. Just look at the faces of the people when they come up to the desk. Because if they look like they got a frown on their face or they're rolling their eyes, you know that person's doing something that's not right. Because consumers don't come in to make you miserable. They're coming in, some of them, they're panicked. Some of these people have their wider minded family members that are real need. Some of these people have emergency packages they got to get out. They have tax worries. They're your blessing. They're the blessing for you to keep your jobs. Why they come in? They can be the most miserable, mean person in the world. But you know what? They didn't wake up walking into the door and say, I'm going to make Beverly's life miserable today. Don't flatter yourselves. They get up in the morning saying, I have to deal with what's going on in my life. You're there to service them. But it's the same thing with your employees. Employees don't come to work, ladies and gentlemen, with the intent to make your life miserable. They're coming in trying to do life. So it's all about what tone do you want to set. Smiles make a big difference. There's studies that tell people, even people that are frowning, if you can get a person to smile, even if it's forced, it changes the makeup of their bodies. Try it sometime. I do it periodically because I want to really buy into it. And it's true. All these changes are coming down, and you all have your opinion. I think in some ways it's about how you could rally is to go back with, as a crusader and saying, we're going to really go back to old school. Mentally, we're going to go back to old school. Some of you have been around long enough that you remember the glory times. If you can bring that energy back, it's going to be contagious. Now, some of you that have been here more than 15 years know what I'm talking about. You know what it was like then. If you can bring that back, and you all got it in you because you're all like little kids that still have memories, because you bitch about it, quite frankly. So if you can bitch about it, you can reenact it. You can bring it back and see what happens at the outcome. See what happens to the rest of the people in your departments. Does that make a difference? When people are coming to evaluate, and they see all the people servicing have a glow about themselves, very engaged in their jobs. Supervisors talk to employees and people talking about optimistic stuff. Someone evaluates and say, my God, this is refreshing. As opposed to they walk in and see people say, yeah, over there, it's over there. Where's your brother? I don't know, over there somewhere. Can I show you where? I think they're in their offices or they're meeting. If you can bring that back, it's almost like we need to fertilize all of you again. We need to bring you back to really being flourished. You've all had enough cow manure thrown on you. All right, so now what we got to do is you look at any farmers, you need cow manure, but then you also need those fertilizer things. You know the ones you buy at Lowe's, they're all chemicals. That's all positive stuff. We need to get those. Maybe you all need to go on like Dracula and just nail those into the ground all over the place and really bring people back to life. It's not that hard. Anybody have any comments or reactions to anything I've said so far? Yes. This guy's
When you said no employee comes to work to give you a hard time, I saw a lot of looks.
You know what?
Percentage, but yeah, we have those.
But you know what? Some of them do. I don't know if they come. Let me share it with something because I think it's a valid point. Some come with chips on their shoulder because possibly how many of you, quite frankly, have done an internal audit yourselves? Have you been short with that person? Do you have an issue with that person yourself and that you're seeing it because they're feeling like, oh, I got to go back to the pit because they're really uncomfortable at work, so they're coming in with an attitude and a chip because of the dynamics that were established. Now, I'm not picking on you, but I think, again, we have to, are you as supervisors looking at your own personality and what are you doing to possibly contribute to that as well? I mean, I'm not saying it all has to. Go ahead.
I think the percentage of people that come with I don't think that it's one-on-one against management. That would be very, very small. Most of them have personal issues. I mean, they have the same kind of problems at home. They bring those things. They're miserable at work. They take it out on us, so to speak, but they're also miserable at home. And things aren't well for them.
Well, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow morning, about stress and how that all plays. But I'm going to tell you, if someone's miserable at work, quite frankly, and I like this, the work needs to also look at, is it a healthy work environment? And what can we as managers, because our ultimate responsibility to keep our teams afloat and productive and engaged. So maybe we gotta take some responsibility as managers ourselves to look at creating, and whatever within our power, how to alter the enthusiasm. And it doesn't have to be by money. Sometimes it's like it's acknowledgement, and then saying this, that, hey, listen, owning it and saying, you know what, we really have all been lackluster. What can we do as a department to really, get us all back on track? Because, we have jobs that we all want to save and provide service to our people. What can we do to uplift our enthusiasm here? Sometimes asking them what their input may make a difference. I don't know. Somebody had a question over here? Yes, sir.
You're talking about bringing back the good old days. I worked for the post office quite a while. And I remember when the mailman was considered to be a very stable, enjoyable, and personable person for everyone to meet.
Right.
The bank would be open, but the mailman came down the street, and the security guard picked nothing up saying, well, come on in, mailman. He said, well, I'll wait till 9. No, you can come in. I had it open, you can come in. Because you were trusted, you were in good spirits, and that was a consistent theme of in mailmen especially, but probably other postal workers as well. But over time, postal service become more rigid. For a person serving in the military, they would give out instructions just like the military. You don't have a choice. You're not asking for the dates. This is what you have to do. And that kind of soured people over the years. And I see what we have now is a result of all that, I guess, harsh and strict instruction that people have put up. So how do we change?
Well, I want to tell you, I know what you're talking about. Remember, actually, my dad was a carrier, but then he drove a truck. And I remember our grocery hill in the deli with his brothers, and I would work after school. My dad was still working, and I'm not exaggerating. I swear, as I'm saying, this is a fact. My father pulled up to a box to get the mail, and a supervisor was following a different carrier, got out of his car, and measured the distance between my father's truck tires and the curb. Because they had to park within so close to the curb that they were. And I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding. I was like 17. I'm like, what is this all about? But the rules were so strict that the way they drove and all that. I think the issue is, when I said go back to the old days, it's the spirit. You may still have to contend with the new rules, but enjoy the concept of what we give mankind. We give a service to mankind in spite of the restrictions we have. Now, what you said too is, I remember one gauge I think it would be interesting for somebody to do a study on is, how many of you ever delivered mail yourself? Anybody? All right, now I want you to leave your hand up. Wait a minute. How many of you used to routinely get some gifts from your people in your neighborhood you're delivering at Christmas? Keep your hands up.
Joey's and Jam.
All right, put them down now. I would love for somebody to do a study now. Again, I'm going to be critical between the UPS driver getting Christmas gifts and a mailman getting a gift. I bet you the mailmen today, and women, I'm a male person, gives a far less amount of Christmas little gift thank yous than they did 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. Now, some people say, well, Rich, it's because we don't see the same delivery man every day. The person changes. Even in my neighborhood, it's like 3 or 4 different people. But you know what? People don't care. If the person's pleasurable and they put a gift in the mailbox for the mailman, they don't care who gets it. It's idea to the mail person. Do you follow me? That spirit is what I'm talking about, is really instilling in people to have a joy in doing what you're doing. Before I came, I was speaking in Chicago, and I told them to hold my mail for 4 days. Well, I screwed up on the car. My wife said, no, do it on Tuesday, and I wrote Wednesday. So I went in, I wrote the card out, and I checked the box that says they'll deliver all the mail on this date. You know what I'm talking about, the card? So then I went in and I wrote a new card, and I said, are you sure this is going to cancel out the other card? She goes, oh yeah, Richard, don't worry about it. That's one of the ones I like that talks to me. Well, I come back to Chicago, and I told my wife, you can't leave the house because I get a lot of mail, and he's going to come. Well, I go out to the mailbox, and my neighbors all got the mail, my mail's not there. So I knew what to do, because my dad was mailing. I drove around my neighborhood, and here he is under one of the shade trees, waiting to drive to the next place, because he got the fax, which is fine. I know. So I said to him, and he looked at me and goes, oh, your mail's coming tomorrow. He said, oh, hey, could you go in to pick up your mail? I said, no, I'm not picking up my mail. I told him, check the little box and you're going to bring it to my house. He said, oh, you got a lot of mail. And he says, don't worry, I'll bring it tomorrow. I'll put it all there. He said, I said, what if we're not home? He goes, don't, I'll put it under your mat. I'll put the majority of the box on your mat. And he says, I'm really sorry, they must have told you to check the wrong box. Well, I didn't really care. But the point is that he was very apologetic and very nice. But I think the issue is, that's what it's all about. You know, it's that extra smile. And if you're there and a person comes up, some people can bring up the mail to you and you're willing to take it. We just got to change the spirit. The spirit is still there. If you can get that going, it's going to make a difference. You know, I don't think people complain about the change in the money for the tickets, I mean the stamps. It's more about the experience. You know, what they were talking about, you want to go somewhere where you're appreciated. Because there's enough opportunities in the world to feel lousy. I want to go somewhere, if I would give you money, give me some joy, give me some sugar. I mean, even the banks give you lollipops. I mean, and if you're an old person, they'll give you a lollipop if you ask for one. They'll say, yeah, sure, you can have a lollipop. But it's all about that spirit. And how are you all going to do to bring that back? All of you heard this doom and gloom stuff. And you know what? The unknown is frightening because quite frankly, after I sat back there and listened for an hour, I know the guy was trying to be helpful, but you know what? The unknown is still unpredictable, and he's not the answer of all answers. God bless him. He was only given what he knows. Do you not think that he's sitting there saying, I have no understanding of the unknown myself? Because he could be replaced in a day too. So I'm here to tell you all, you all have to have an exit plan. And I don't care what it is, you may not like it, but you know what? Life's challenges in itself. I remember when I went for a job, and the one person said, what do I need to know about you? And I said, I'm going to tell you, here's a statement. Every time I get hired, or when I work for other people, I said, I'm a wild stallion. As my boss, it's your responsibility to tame me to work within your structure. But if you kill my spirit, I'm out of here. I'll give you 100%. That's what you're paying me for. But if that's not going to work, you're never going to own me because I'll go flip hamburgers, sell my house, go to a dinky little apartment, and take what my wife and I could carry in our two hands, and I'll be joyful. Because you will not own me. And if you go through life with that idea that, you know, many of us work and locked into stuff. I'm here to tell you a story that a gentleman shared with me. I believe this, and you've heard this, but if you knew that everybody was out of your house, and your animals and your children were out of the house, and you knew you could go into your house for a half an hour and take out everything in a half an hour that was really valuable to you, what would that be? And if you were in a dinky little two-bedroom apartment with those things you took, would you be happy? That's what you have. All of us are working for stuff that we're not even enjoying. The question you have to decide on is, do I go to work with an attitude, I chose this job because I could choose to be unemployed. I could be, you know, I mean, that's a choice you have. You could choose to give up your job. But I'm here to tell you, being unemployed is not that blessing either. So how are you going to be in that position? Because you're going to have to do it for a long period of time. And before you think of the next job you want, you need to do an internal audit really about, is this what I choose and really want? Or is it something that is just something I think I want to make me feel better? Because that's not going to make you feel better after a couple months if you're in the wrong job. Now it becomes a hardship. Any other comments? Yes?
I worked in my last job in the Postal Service. And I had a boss that when she came in the morning, I went in early. She would come by the doorway when she come in. And either if she said good morning to you, was you knew how the day was going to go. And if she didn't say good morning, you know that you are going to have a day from hell. And what really upset me, and that was probably the one boss that I shed tears over. And
Because of what she did to you, or because she left?
no, she didn't leave.
Oh.
But I mean, I was that upset because I had never worked for anybody like that. And I think with the Postal Service, a lot of times what happens is if you report or, you know, and I closed the door one day and had a good talk with her, and it helped for a little bit. But her supervisors, the people that were in charge of her, knew how hard she was to work for, but they never changed it. They never did anything to, you know, say you need to change the way you treat people. And we were in HR, so that was personnel, and that was important to treat people. But they would not go to her because they didn't like the way they were treated. But nobody that was in charge of her changed her the whole time she was in that office to become a people person. And I think that is what upset me most about the Postal Service.
But, you know, look, that's going to happen in every aspect
Well, I
of life.
know that.
I'm going to give you an example about that, though. That's a good one. You all heard, you can't change another person's behavior or attitude. You can only change how you respond to it. But let me tell you how I would deal with it. Number one, I'm going to use this as a learning skill for all of you that are supervisors. When I teach leadership, I tell people, you are the boss. Not everybody is outgoing. Not everybody is smiley, hunky-dory. Certain behaviors of people are much more gregarious and outgoing. Other people are very analytical and lacking in facial expression. You as a boss need to inform your staff who you are. I worked with one guy that was really a very compassionate man, but never showed joy on his face. He got a job and he met with his team and he said, listen, I want to tell you something right up front about me. I'm a very joyful man. I love my company, this new company. I'm excited about this opportunity. But I want you to understand, I'm not a guy who typically smiles a lot. I don't want you misreading that when I come in and I say good morning, if I don't come in saying good morning, doesn't mean I'm in a bad mood. I'm not that kind of guy. If I'm unhappy, you will know it because I'll either call you in my office and say, here's what I'm concerned about, I'm not pleased with this. I will never do it in public. I never raise my voice. But unless I call you in my office or you get a report from me, assume that I'm really delighted with what you're doing. Even though I don't express it in my face, don't say, oh, he's in a bad mood, look at his face. I want you to say, that's who I am. So part of it is us educating our people who we are. Just like someone said, my door's always open. But the look on their face said, don't you ever walk in there. That doesn't mean crap to me. But I'm going to give you a little story that fits to what you're talking about. When I first started on the national speaking circuit, I did a speech in front of my mentor. And I was speaking in front of 300 doctors at this time, and he was a doctor too, this man I'm talking about. His name was Anthony Bush. And I did all the right things. I came and I spoke here, and I went over here, and I did the right thing here. I did all the right things, and I got done, and people applauded. And I went downstairs. The only person I really cared about was hearing what Dr. Bush said. And I went, I said, Dr. Bush, how did I do? He said, Richard. He said, for the first 5 minutes, you were extraordinary. And then you sucked. I said, Dr. Bush, what are you talking about? He said, Richard, when you started talking, you were sharing your truth. You were sharing the gifts that you had, your knowledge, your brilliance. He said, but what you noticed after 5 minutes is there were a cluster of people to the left of you who were disengaged, who were sidebar talking, and kind of just rumbling amongst themselves. And then you stopped right in front of those people and you talked to them, trying to win them over. And I thought about it and I thought, I didn't do that. He said, there are 4 types of people you're going to face every day of your life. And this is family, friends, colleagues, employees, customers. The first group are the people that are so engaged in living They're so joyful. They get up and say, thank you, God, for giving me another day. They want to reach out and take all the knowledge you have. They want to absorb it. They're engaged. They're attentive. They're inquisitive. They're with you the whole time, and they applaud your sharing. The second group are people who know what you're sharing. They may even have that gift themselves, that knowledge, but they're still engaged. They're very appreciative of your willingness to share your knowledge or your gifts with your fellow man. They're really just, they're there, they're present. The third group are the razor blade warriors. These are the people who, even if they need to know what you're teaching, they're not going to give you the benefit. They're so angry and detached from life, they're miserable, and they want everybody to be miserable. And the last are the living dead. Those people that just function in life, they don't know where they're at. He said, Richard, an average joyful person feels this compelling need to be wanted and loved by everybody. And you sabotage your speech to try to win over those 5 people, and you roll off the other 295 people. Those people were ready to get your gift. These people weren't ready yet. So be tolerant of their lack of good taste, or their inability to be connected, or they just weren't ready to hear your word. Don't let your word be cheapened because some people don't appreciate it. Does that make sense? So when you're talking with this person, you know, part of it is saying it's so unfortunate that parents didn't teach them to be more tolerant of other people. And just look at it, you know what, it's unfortunate they're so miserable. Because you know what? Like Diana Ross, stop in the name of love. I say, stop. You're virus, I ain't taking it. Push it back. And just say, you know what, I don't need that. There are some people who do things just to spite. I've told this story many times. When I tried to lose weight, I was at the hospital once, and a bunch of us guys would have coffee together. And this one guy, his name was Ken, and I didn't particularly like each other. Or, you know, we just, you know, not everybody has to like everybody, but I worked with him, we did okay. Well, one day he comes down, and he says, hey, Advoian, I hear you're on Weight Watchers. And he doesn't want to scare my body. Shoot, it's not doing very much. Now, I had to think about it for a minute. Now, what could I have done? I could have got my razor blade New York attitude and ripped him to death. I either could have pouted and walked away. I could have sat there and pouted. I could have cried. But what I said to him is, I had to think about it real quickly. What did he say? Advoian, that's my name. I hear you're on Weight Watchers, which was true. It doesn't look like it's doing very well. His opinion. Okay? Now, what I said, now I could have done all those things I told you. I said, Ken, yeah, thanks for being so observant. Yeah, I've been cheating a little bit. I need to get more serious about it. And I walked away. He turns to Bob and says, what the hell's with that boy? He thought complimenting him? Now, the truth of the matter is, I own that some of what he said was truthful. Now, the people that get miserable would do this. You say it to me, and then I go back to, after lunch, I go back to my station, and I say, Edmund, you would believe what Ken said to me. Blah, 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 blah. Then I get in my carpool with you, or drive home. You would believe what Ken said. Blah, 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 blah. I go home to my wife. Ken owned my whole day. Do you think Ken's telling anybody about it? No! So why am I letting him suck all the joy out of the rest of my day? So when I say that people should wring that crap out, just say, you know what, I'm a sponge, but it's not penetrating my skin. You all wear uniforms, wring that sucker out when you're home and say, I'm done. It's all about your control, but it's about the charisma that you have. You all have it. It's engaging your business and saying, I'm here and I'm engaged and I'm joyful to be here and I'm honored to have you all working with me, not for me, with me, to make our service something that is still viable and that America's going to turn around and start supporting us because we're here to stay. Any other comments or questions already? I don't know what the time line is. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Come on. Yeah, see, the state, you're St. Louis, right?
Yes.
See, they help their own kind. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had an experience somewhat like that in the office that I was a supervisor in. We had a manager who was outstanding. She knew the work, she knew everyone's job, but she was not very outgoing as far as the 104 people that worked for her under the supervisor. So one day she called us in for a meeting, and she said, I'm noticing, that our people don't seem as joyful, they don't talk to each other here in the unit like, a lot of offices I've been in. And she asked the supervisors and the staff, what do you think we can do, or what do you think the issue is? So the other three were a little intimidated by, they didn't really want to come out and say it, they do. So I just said, well, it's you. I said, you come through the office every morning, you go straight to your office, within the office, and you come back out and you never say, good morning, how you doing, and they see this, they feel this, and they're talking about this. And she said, really? And do you know, she changed her whole attitude with that. She started coming in, good morning, everyone, and they would all look and say, she'd go in her office, come out, and she'd speak, do her job, come back in, and say little things to them. I heard your daughter was graduating, and do you know our unit on the J.P. Powers for that year with 100% supervision score, and it was because she was a manager and was wise enough to see her issues and make a difference within the whole.
See, she knew what she didn't know and was willing to ask for what she needed.
Exactly.
To me, the incredible leaders are the ones that say, I got this, but I'm not a master at everything. I appreciate you sharing that. And again, one of the things you got to understand too, some supervisors feel that they're outed by the rest of the people. So sometimes we as employees need to extend a branch to the supervisor and include them in our conversation. Because some of them go into their office thinking, nobody wants to talk to me because I'm the boss. So it really could be true, and every case is different. But it's absolutely true. And I think people who think they're know-it-alls really live stressful lives. Because I'll give you an example. Someone called me recently and said, can you come and talk about diversity? Because I was a big hit. Neat thing. And I said, no. And they said, well, why not? And I said, because I'm not an expert in that area. And she said, well, can't you just read a book and come and talk about it? And I said to her, now, I'm going to share my secret. I said, you're willing to pay $5,000 for me to just read a book and come tell you what I read in the book? And she said, yeah. And I thought, now this, I said, I won't, that's like prostituting me. I won't do that. No, I won't do that. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people is that we have to know what we don't know. Because if you try to fake what you know, you look stupid. Because I'm here to tell you, there's always someone in the group that may know the answer and knows you're stupid. Stupid not in the sense that we think stupid not knowing, stupid for trying to portray what you know. I also believe that to the point where people need to be less selfish. I believe there are 3 roles in our lives. The first role is that we should be parenting the world. Not just our children, but the child spirit of the world. To help provide security, safety, shelter, food, encouragement, love to mankind. And we can do that at any age. 3-year-old kids do that with 2-year-old kids. We can do that as whatever way in our lives to help our fellow man, to be that warmth, that support. The second one is to be a mentor. Now there's 2 types of mentors. One type of mentor is when someone has the same job that you have and you're helping them to do it better. That's wonderful. That's sharing your gift. But the incredible mentor to me is someone who sees a talent in someone the seed of a gift that they got from their higher power that they don't see, and you water it. And you help them see a gift that they were blessed with, that they didn't have the encouragement to do anything with. And then we have this brilliance emerge from that individual. And the last one is wise man or woman. Is to be like Linus's blanket, where you are always just really safe in their presence. You could be there for someone and they can be feeling where it's unconditional listening. No judgment. To just be there. It's like when you were with your grandma or your grandpa when you were a little kid, you know, that just, you were just, they didn't have to talk, but when you were with them, that energy was so, it was like getting a massage of love. If we look at life that way, and we also just want to share and be the gift to everybody, and to really be blessed by their gifts, we will be a stronger people. And you will be stronger supervisors if you admit what you don't know. Don't be afraid to ask for what you know, and make it a commitment to be joyful in life. Thank you very much.